Hello, students. Mrs. Wright here. I'm glad you're here with me today. We have another wonderful story that we're going to get to read together today. This story is so wonderful. I want you to think for a minute, what is the meaning of fiction? And tell me, what is fiction? Is that make-believe or made up, or is that real? If you said that fiction is make-believe or made up, you will know that that is correct. Okay, folktales are a type of fiction, and this is a folk tale. Okay, we're going to learn about that a little bit in our story today. I want you to think a little bit about the sequence of the events that happen in this story. Think about the plot. What happens first, next, and last. Okay, today we're going to start with a few new vocabulary words, just like we always do. The first word we have today is the word bleated. Say that with me. Bleated. That's to cry out or made the sound of a goat or a sheep. So for an example of this word, it would be the goat bleated when it was frightened. You ever heard a goat say, bah, bah? That's a goat, right? The goat bleated. That sound they make is called bleated. All right, the next word we're studying is the word disguise. Say that with me. Disguise. To make oneself look like someone or something else. So an example of this would be Billy would often disguise himself with a hat and glasses when he tried to play a trick on his sister. An example of this word could also be disguises or disguised or disguising. All right, the next word we have today is the word kids. Kids. Now, you guys are known as kids, but young baby goats are often called kids. The kids ate grass in the field with their mama goat. So a kid can be a young baby goat. The last two words we have is the word miller. Say that with me. Miller. A person who works in a mill and makes flour. The miller was covered in flour by the end of the day. And the last word we have is terrified. Say that word with me. Terrified. Have you ever been very scared? The terrified mouse ran away from the cat. All right, I want you to listen for those words in our story today. Today, we're going to just think for just a minute about people's imaginations. Now, if I imagine something, is that real? No, it's often called fiction or make-believe. Okay, I want you to think for a minute. In this story, you will hear a folk tale. It's called a folk tale. A folk tale is a different kind of story found in many children's books. Often, they are passed down from person to person, orally or by mouth, by story, instead of it being written down. So for instance, this is a folk tale. So this story is not normally written down, but it could be passed down from your grandma to your mom, to you, to your kids. That's called a folk tale. It's passed down from generations to generations. Okay, so every culture or group in every nation, every group of people has its own folk tales. And it wasn't until very recently that some of these stories were actually written down for us to read. So folk tales, are they made up or are they real? They're made up usually, right? We're reading a story from someone's imagination. Okay, a folk tale is a type of fiction. Remember that? All right, we're going to keep listening to fiction stories over the next couple of days. Here we go. I want you to listen closely and hear what happens to the wolf who tries to become friends with a family of goats. There was once a mother goat who had 7 little kids, and she loved them as well as any mother had ever loved her children. Remember, kids is a word for baby goats. One day she gathered her 7 kids around her and said, "Dear children, I must go into the forest to get food for us to eat. While I am away, do not open the door for anyone, especially the wolf. You will always know him by his rough voice and by his dark gray fur on his paws. "Oh, don't worry, Mother," said the kids. "We will take good care of ourselves." So the mother goat bleated goodbye and went on her way with a calm mind. Remember, bleated means she baaed her way out of there, bellowed her way out, a loud noise. Meanwhile, the wolf was all alone in the forest. He never had anyone to play with, as with the other animals were always scared of him. This made him quite sad, but he thought maybe if the 7 kids just got to know him, they would want to play with him. The wolf decided he would disguise himself in order to get the kids to give him a chance. This means the wolf wanted to change how he looked a little bit. Remember, he wanted to change or disguise himself. What do you see in this picture? Soon there came a knock, knock, knock at the door, and a voice called out, "Open the door, my children. Your mother is back and has brought you something." But oh, what a rough voice that was. The kids thought it surely must be too soon for their mother to be back. "No, we will not open this door," cried the kids. "Our mother has a sweet, gentle voice, and your voice is very rough. You must be the wolf." And so the kids went on playing, feeling very proud of themselves. The wolf felt very sad, for he could not help that his voice was rough. He ran off to the store where he bought a big lump of special kind of chalk, which he ate to make his voice soft. Then he came back and knocked on the door and called out in a gentler voice, "Open the door, my dear children. Your mother is back and has brought you each something." The wolf felt for sure that this time the kids would open the door, and he could prove to them that he was actually a very nice wolf. What do you think is going to happen? What do you see in this picture? Who is at the door? How can you tell? But the poor wolf had put his paws up against the window, and the kids could see his dark gray fur. "No, we won't open that door," cried the kids. "Our mother's feet do not have dark gray fur. You must be the wolf." Again, the kids went on playing, even feeling prouder than that they had identified the wolf by his paws. And again, the poor wolf felt sad, for he could not help that his fur was dark gray, and so he ran to the baker. A baker is a person who makes and sells bread and bakes. "Baker," he said, "please spread some dough all over my paws." What do you think is going to happen? And when the baker had coated his paws with dough, the wolf went to the miller. A miller is a person who works at a mill and makes flour. "Miller," he said, "please sprinkle some white flour over my paws." Now the wolf's feet looked just like a mother goat's. The wolf thought for sure this time the kids would open the door so he could show them what a nice and fun wolf he was. For a third time, the wolf went to the door and knocked on the door and said in his gentlest voice, "Open the door, my sweet little children. Your mother is back and has brought you something." The wolf was almost smiling. He was so excited to play with the kids. "First, show us your feet," said the kids. And the wolf put his white, flour-covered paws against the window. "Oh, yes, this must be our dear mother," said the kids. And they opened the door. Why do you think the kids thought it was their mother? Look at his paws. In pounced the wolf, ready to play. The terrified kids tried to hide because they did not know that the wolf was actually nice. Terrified means very scared, remember? The first ran under the table, the second crawled under the bed, the third hid under the rug, and the fourth ran into the kitchen. The fifth jumped into the cupboard, the sixth ran under a tub, and the seventh climbed inside a big grandfather clock. The wolf thought the kids must be playing a great game of hide and seek. He thought if he found them all, the kids would finally want to play with him. So the wolf found them all that is, except the youngest, who was hiding in the grandfather clock. The other kids were so scared that when the wolf found them, they passed out to sleep. The kids were afraid of the wolf because they do not know that he is actually a nice wolf who just wants to play, right? The wolf was so scared that the other animals would blame him, so he took the kids into the forest to wait for them to wake up. The wolf tired from all the excitement, strolled into the forest, lay down under a tree, and fell into a deep sleep next to the 6 sleeping kids. A short while later, the mother goat came home, and quite a sight met her eyes. The door stood wide open. Tables and chairs were thrown all about. Dishes were broken. Quilts and pillows were torn off the bed. She called out for her children, but they were nowhere to be found. She called each one again by name, but no one answered until she called the name of the youngest kid. "Here I am, Mother," a little voice cried, "here inside this big grandfather clock." The mother goat helped her youngest child out of the clock. Now the youngest kid was quite sensitive and had realized that the wolf thought the kids were playing a game of hide and seek. If you are sensitive, you understand the feelings of others. He told his mother so, and they went off into the forest to find the other kids and the wolf and to explain such a misunderstanding. There they saw the wolf fast asleep under a tree, snoring so hard that he shook the branches. Then the mother goat saw the rest of her kids sleeping there, hidden behind the big wolf. "Dear me," she thought, "how peaceful they are sleeping." No sooner had she had the thought than one by one her little kids, and finally the wolf, woke up. When the kids awoke, they saw their dear mother and youngest brother smiling at them, and they instantly felt happy. Their mother told them that the poor wolf was actually a kind animal who had just wanted to play, and they all danced around celebrating their newfound friendship with the wolf. Now that they understand each other, the kids and the wolf can be great friends. All right, so what does the mother goat warn her kids about? What does the mother warn the kids about? If you said the wolf, you are 2 thumbs up. Absolutely right. Where do the kids stay while the mother goat goes into the forest? Do you remember? Where were the kids staying? In their house, right? Who knocks at the door and pretends to be the mother? The wolf. Good. All right, why does the mother goat tell her kids that the wolf has a rough and dark voice and dark gray fur on his paws? The mother goat wants the kids to know, right? So they don't open the door and get eaten up by a wolf. Why does the wolf eat the chalk? And why does he put dough and flour all over his hands? If you said to fool the kids, you're right. What happens when what happens when the wolf gets in? The wolf thinks they're going to do what? Play some games and have some fun, right? But the kids actually do what? They pass out. They're so terrified and scared of a wolf. In The Wolf and the 7 Little Kids, it's a special kind of fiction story. What kind of fiction story is this? We talked about it right at first. It's passed down from generation to generation. It's called a folk tale. That's right. It's called a folk tale. Good. All right. Why is The Wolf and the 7 Little Kids a folk tale? Why is it a folk tale? You remember? It's a made-up story. It's passed down from a grandma to a mom to you to your grandkids. It's passed down. All right. The last portion of today's assignment is our word work. We're going to talk about the word terrified. Say that with me. Terrified. Let's clap it out. Terrified. Terrified. Good. Terrified. When someone is terrified, they are very, very scared. Mia is terrified of thunderstorms because she doesn't like loud noises. Have you ever been terrified of something? Pause the video and use the word terrified in a complete sentence. I was terrified when the wind would not stop blowing. Your turn. Use the word terrified in a sentence. All right, here we go. Thumbs up, thumbs down. You would be terrified and scared. You would not be terrified and scared. All right, here we go. Would you be terrified of a puppy? I would not be terrified of a puppy, right? All right, would you be terrified of a big lightning bolt? I would be so terrified. Would you be terrified of a beautiful rainbow? Not terrified. What about a big tree? Not terrified, right? How about of a big bad wolf? I would be a little scared if I had to see a wolf. And what about a beautiful shining star? Probably wouldn't be too terrified of a star. Good work today, Patriots. I hope you had a wonderful day learning this story of the wolf and the 7 little kids. I hope you will retell it to your moms and dads, remembering the plot, the beginning, the middle, and the end. Have a wonderful day today.